Hello everybody, Matteo here again and welcome you to the next build steps of the new Tamiya CC-02 Mercedes-Benz G500. The gearbox is finished with installed motor and we go ahead now with step 8, the build of the chassis core with battery compartment. For this and the following steps we need the parts in back B. There are 3 possible mounting positions to bring the parts together. Maybe to adjust different wheelbases or to change the size of the battery tray. I'm not sure at the moment, let's see later how it is. Now I screw together the parts on the position explained in the manual. This part has to be installed in front. Here I'm going to build the battery holder. This part holds the battery in place and can be secured with a pin. So, the inner part of the chassis is finished. Step 9 is the installation of the chassis rails. Unusual, these are made of plastic too. There are small plastic parts, we have to press in nuts. These are something like nut holders. Also on the chassis there are several points to insert nuts. A bit glue holds them in place. And also on the chassis rails. Now I can screw on the chassis frames. The manual says to glue in these small plastic parts here, but I think I do not make this now. I'll install these parts later when I screw everything together. And here you can see the chassis main frame is finished. Step 10 is the build of the front subframe with servo mounting plate and damper stay. It's possible to install the servo in 2 directions. Standard is horizontally, but it's also possible in the upright position. Here the front subframe is finished. Step 11 is the build of the rear subframe. One more of these small plastic parts have to be glued on the chassis frame. But this is without a nut. Be sure to do it in the right position. And the rear subframe is also finished. Step 12 is the installation of the front subframe to the chassis. Oh no, there must be something wrong. This fits not as it should. What's wrong? Ah, I see, I have used the wrong mounting position for the servo holder. It should be installed here on these holes. So I disassemble these parts and correct my fault. Now the subframe fits perfectly to the chassis and I can screw it on. Here it is installed. Step 13 is attaching the rear subframe on the chassis. This fits good and can be directly screwed on. Now, here I have to insert this small plastic part which I have not glued on in step 9. So, here you can see the chassis with front and rear subframes installed. Step 14 is the installation of the gearbox with motor on the chassis. It has to be screwed on from underneath with 4 screws. This is the chassis with installed gearbox and motor. Step 15 is the assembling of the drive shafts. This is not so easy, it needs a bit of force and the right technique to put these parts together. And for the second part, a pliers can be helpful. Here the drive shafts are finished. Step 16 is the installation of the drive shafts on the gear shafts. Normally I use some thread lock on the screws, but here is it not necessary, because the shaft is made of plastic and so the screws holds in place. Step 17 is the installation of the Lynx supporters on the chassis. Every part is marked with the letter to make it easy to find the right part for the right position. So the chassis base is finished. This is it for the moment. The next step is the build of the axles. This video will follow soon. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this build series and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching and see you soon.